Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 167 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and I can't believe, Tim, we finally made it to like our holiday episode. I mean, this has been some year, to say the least, you know. And it's like when you hit all these milestones through a global pandemic, they all seem to be a little bit weird. There's always a little strange element to it. This one, I think, is pretty much gonna be as close to what it would have been pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I was a little worried after Halloween that I would not be in the kind of holiday spirit this year, especially with everything going on. But, I went out Sunday and decorated the entire house for Christmas. I've got a big inflatable Santa in the yard. I got lights up everywhere. I just, something kind of struck me. I think maybe it was a little bit more hope with the vaccine coming and the actual unexpectedly good Halloween that I had. So it was, kind of rejuvenated me going into the last half of the year. And I think, we got some really good stuff coming up for the podcast with our December Christmas movies. We're still in the middle of our Thanksgiving films for November we're doing. So I feel like we got a lot of fun stuff on the horizon.
Pretty much have a packed episode here, so we might as well get right into it, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Let's get started with our first chop. All right, Brian, so I did knock out a couple of things this week. I've been kind of slack on watching extra stuff outside of our featured film for the episode, but I got a couple of nice documentaries in from Shudder, and I would highly recommend both of these. They are just fantastic. The first one up was called Blood and Flesh, The Real Life and Ghastly Death of Al Adamson. And Al Adamson, if you don't know, was basically a grindhouse drive-in type director. He was sort of a Roger Corman type. He made low budget, highly sexual, highly violent movies back in the 70s, and they were like just ridiculously stuff like blood, anything with the blood in the title or flesh in the title was probably something he had a hand in. Extremely low budget. They were usually filmed in 5 or 6 days. And unfortunately, he met a tragic end. He was actually murdered. And this documentary goes into his life, his films. It has tons of interviews with people that worked with him. And apparently, he was just a super incredible guy. But it has tons of interviews with people that worked with him and lots of behind the scenes. If you enjoy like the shoestring budget filmmaking process and hearing stories about how these people just slap these things together, and it's so entertaining. It's so sometimes jaw-dropping, the stuff they got away with at times. And then it goes in the last third of the movie goes into like the circumstances surrounding his death. He had a really, really bizarre ending to his life and career. But I highly recommend that one. It's incredibly entertaining. The second one is one I've been looking forward to, and that is Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist. Now,
oh yeah, I want to see this.
I know a lot of you think you know everything about The Exorcist. You've probably listened to the commentaries and you've watched documentaries, but I'd never seen one where it was William Friedkin himself kind of setting the record straight. And I will tell you, going into this, my thoughts on William Friedkin have always been colored by the commentaries and stuff I've seen, which was he was a difficult director. He did some really kind of horrendous things to get performances out of his actors. With that other documentary, that Devil Possession documentary he did, I kind of viewed him as a little bit of a wacko with his was it Father Morin or something documentary about that devil possession exorcism.
Yeah.
So I kind of went into this kind of skeptical of William Friedkin. Let me tell you, by the end of this documentary, I completely changed my tune on him. If this was a piece of propaganda that he put out to better his image, then it worked completely on me because he
that's what it was. It said for Tim.
I mean, he is an incredibly captivating speaker, and this documentary is essentially him sitting in a chair for 90 minutes talking about The Exorcist. Now, of course, they insert clips of the movie and things like that, but it's all William Friedkin talking. And he is just captivating, is the word I keep coming back to. I was totally riveted by this documentary. He tells some things that I didn't know. I mean, a lot of it I did from the commentaries and stuff, but there are some things that I did not know, some stories that he told that were just incredible, like his story about meeting Bernard Herrmann to do the score for The Exorcist. You got to hear that story. And also his inspirations, like where the films that inspired The Exorcist, music, art. He's a very artistic person. I mean, he enjoys art, not just movies, but art, like paintings and music and sculpture and things like that. And it was just incredible hearing a master filmmaker talk about how he got his ideas, how his process worked. If you like film, even if you don't like The Exorcist, even if you don't like horror, if you like film and want to hear the words of a great director talking about his craft, it is utterly mind-blowing documentary. I was so impressed with this, and it's on Shudder for free. I mean, you got to watch it. It's a must-see in my opinion. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I need to watch it. This is one I wanted to watch. It's just I haven't got it. And actually, it's a good segue in because normally I'm the one racking up the extra things as of late, but with our new little puppy Obi, he is taking up so much time. It's astounding how a puppy could take up so much time. But trying to train him, he's so funny. He's so cute. I can't stand the cuteness of him, but he literally eats everything. He chews everything. Just trying to watch like a movie is like a chore in itself. So it's like. It's so funny, and I'm like, people always said, "Oh my God, the puppies!" And I'm like, "Oh, they're puppies. How bad could they be?" Oh no, they are. He is so rambunctious, and we're trying to get him, acclimated to. He seems to not like seeing other people out there, which is kind of hard when you live in an apartment complex.
Oh yeah.
so we gotta, so we're getting out there, and he seems to bark. He is so protective over, I think, over Julie and I. Now, like. Me, he loves, I can tell. But Julie, he adores. Oh, my God. He will not leave her side if he can avoid it. It's so funny. And we're, now she's going to be going, she's been working from home the last week, but she's going back in a week. That is going to be a test. This is going to be interesting. Thank God I'm off the first 2 days. She goes back to work. So I'm home because I think I'm going to need to figure out how I'm going to, deal with him for the day. He does have his playpen, which we bring him in, and he trains well. Like we've trained him to do like pretty much. We've gotten him to sit. We've got him to, he'll call. He knows his name already, which was I didn't think he was going to catch on that fast, but he's got his name. So he's, so we play games with him all in the morning. So, but it is exhausting. I mean, I literally find myself like passed out on the couch almost every night. And Julie's like, okay, time to go to bed. And I look up and it was like, the last time I'd looked at the clock, it was like 8:00 and it's like now 11:30. I'm like, what happened? but like I said, I love every second of it though at the same time because he is just so cute. And he's such a lovable dog. So I will, we'll get there. As he grows older, he'll probably stop chewing things.
Oh yeah. He'll settle down.
Yeah. And and he's smart. He knows. I was saying he's like almost like this velociraptor. So because like, we have like my charging cables and he loves cords, of course, which is the worst thing. But he'll go near my my iPhone charging cable and he'll grab it. So we tell him no, and he'll eventually relent and let go. And Julie has this spray that is like an apple cider vinegar that he doesn't like. So we kind of show him the thing and then we spritz it, but he goes back like as a velociraptor, like testing the fence, like from Jurassic Park. He'll try different spots of it to find out where we didn't spray. I mean, he is like his the way his little brain works is astounding. He is so like crafty, so awesome. Crafty. But and of course he's got me in the palm of his paw, basically, because I can't, like, I have trouble, like, I'll let him probably chew my like sweatshirt way longer than I should, but we'll get there. So I didn't really get to watch anything but the main feature of our movie.
All right, well, let's get to our featured movie this week, and we have another one that takes place over a Thanksgiving break. I wouldn't call it a Thanksgiving themed movie so much, but it does take place over the Thanksgiving holiday, and it is a fantastic movie. We're talking.
Yeah. Oh, I will say though, there's a mention of pumpkin pie in there,
so it counts. Yeah.
So it counts. That automatically counts. No burnt turkeys though.
No burnt turkeys. Well, there's. I'm not going to say it.
Someone's burnt, but not turkey. He's not a turkey.
I was trying
He might be like a turkey in like the metaphorical sense, not the literal sense.
I wasn't going to go there, but then just the opening was there, and I had to kind of step through it.
Yeah, it was. No, it was well played.
We're talking about KRISTY from 2014, directed by Oliver Blackburn. He went by Ollie Blackburn in this, which he has a couple of good credits to his name. He did a Donkey Punch, and he actually this was his last feature film. He kind of moved into television after this. So that's what he's been doing since 2014. But this one stars Haley Bennett as Justine, Ashley Greene as Violet, Lucas Till as Aaron, Chris Coy as Blue Hoodie, Mike Seal as Black Hoodie, Lucius Falick as Gray Hoodie, Erica Ash as Nicole, and James Ranson as Scott. And another,
it's funny that almost sounds like what Kim and Ket do, where they like name people, but no, literally that's their credits: Gray Hoodie, Blue Hoodie, Black Hoodie.
When a college girl who is alone on campus over the Thanksgiving break is targeted by a group of outcasts, she must conquer her deepest fears to outwit them and fight back. And I really like the setup for this movie because you always have a problem, and I'm saying this like I write horror movies for a living, which I don't, but I think about horror movie writing a lot. And you always have this problem of how do you get the person in a vulnerable situation? Because especially nowadays, there's people everywhere. There's cell phones everywhere. How do you get somebody isolated and cut off? And I really like the premise of this where she's kind of the one person who's kind of stayed behind on campus on Thanksgiving break. And
I think, isn't that what they call her? The leave behind or the stay behind?
Yeah.
When she has to go to the guard, she's like, I'm the stay behind.
So you got a setup where you've got, well, two things. You've got a great setting, like a school campus is a great setting because you've got so much to work with there. But then you've also got her in a vulnerable situation. But one thing I really liked about it is that they didn't shy away from the things you would automatically think would be her salvation. So if you told me, well, I'm going to make a horror movie about this girl that's left behind on campus on Thanksgiving break and she's being stalked by a killer, well, I would say, well, they're going to have campus security there. That would be my first instinct. And they do. And they don't shy away from that. There is campus security there, but they deal with it. Well, she's going to have a cell phone there, but they deal with it. Every excuse you could come up with that this is not going to work, they address it head on and somehow make it work. So I really like that about this movie. I think it was smartly written.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was the most impressive thing on it because on plot point, you're like, oh, okay, well, it's going to be one of these. But it's surprisingly really well done for a movie that actually I think I vaguely remember hearing about it, but I know I never saw it. I know you said you had seen it. Mm-hmm. But you figure this could have easily been like just one of these terribly cheesy movies. But I thought it was great. I thought it it was up there on par with The Strangers, like movie like that where you kind of vaguely know why these things are happening, and it's just like you got these really other than the girl, you don't really see anyone's faces throughout the thing. There's just weird masks and hoodies.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking, I was like, I did watch this movie back in 2014 when it first came out, but I didn't remember a lot about it rewatching it for the podcast, but I did get a very heavy Strangers vibe. Now it's a little different in that it's kind of more of a Strangers 2 vibe because they're in a more open, kind of more open, expanded area, whereas the first Strangers they're kind of trapped in their house.
A bigger map, like on Call of Duty or something. Yeah, a bigger map.
Yeah, exactly, a bigger map. So it had more of a Strangers 2 vibe, but it does have that feel to it. Maybe even a little purgy at times.
I got that too. Yeah, and then remember, these are this is 6 years old. This movie now, so it's not like a lot of these things we're talking about happen after this movie,
right?
but yeah, no. So it was what was so good about it, I thought was. Well, first of all, Haley Bennett, I think, is fantastic.
Yes,
I think she was great in Swallow, that new movie that was just out. Remember the girl that like has that weird thing that freaked me out, where she eats everything. But yeah, it's she does a great job. I think she's just I've always liked her even back since what was that Music and Lyrics, where she played like the main singer.
Yep.
In that, I think she's just just a gorgeous face, but she's got really good acting chops, and I think she played this character really well. And what was good is, one of the criticisms that I think a lot of people have in the movie is they see this like the lead, and they're like, oh my god, all of a sudden she's now like been able to fight back. But I think they did a good job of keeping her like kind of this like setting her up to where it was believable that she would now turn to fight back like this.
Oh no, they did it really, and that's another reason why I think it was so well written, is because they set up early in the movie that she's an athlete. She's a swimmer. That comes into play later on in the movie, so she's in shape. She can fight back. The mere fact that she's staying behind on Thanksgiving, I think, tells a lot about her mental fortitude to be able to stand in isolation and things like that. So you already get the sense. I mean, there's almost a quick montage early on in the movie of her doing different things.
Did it remind you of House of the Devil a little bit, like when where she was dancing with the headphones in the beginning of I kind of got that vibe too in there.
But she's it's set early in the movie that she's having a very successful college career, if you will. Like she's one of those girls that has her stuff together, right? So she knows she's into sports. She's doing her academics because they show her in class. She's paying attention. I mean, she's got it together. She's got a social life. She's got a social life. She's got a boyfriend. I mean, she's got it together, and she's not the one that's goofing off and everything like that. You can tell she's got her stuff together, and that plays into the rest of the movie because they wanted to establish how strong a character she was early on. Because after all, Brian, this is essentially a 90-minute final girl sequence. It's essentially what this is.
Exactly. And I think, you touched on something that's really something that like movies do, but I don't know how well they replicate it as well as this one did, I think, is that, one of the biggest things, a lot of people there have an issue of being alone. Like, they don't like being alone. They always want to have someone around. They don't do well. I mean, there's some people that are introverted. They're fine with it. But and she was so good because I think she has everything, but she's also okay with being alone, which just proves again how well she's put together and how she's up for any challenge. Like, sure, she's freaked out a little bit in the beginning, but it's not like she backs down. And you know what? I think one of the key sequences is that how well she when she first, and minor spoiler here, but this movie is 6 years old. When after the encounter at the convenience store, and there's that the girl puts that roadblock, so to speak, out there, and and she tries to get around, and they block her. Well, she's she doesn't give up, she doesn't freak out, she just gets pissed, and she finds a way and backs the hell out and bolts back and gets back to the university. So she's what is good is he kind of doubles down and he continues consistent with why she's so believable as a final girl. And it's rare you're introduced as a final girl and then but she's almost the final girl, like you said, the whole movie, which I think is a really kind of cool aspect of it, because that puts a lot of heavy lifting on Haley Bennett's shoulders, and I think she passed with literal flying colors. And I say that because of the different color hoodies. Just see what I did there, But it's really it's just a cool sequence. And I have to say, the one thing that's kind of funny is I just don't it just doesn't pay off, but I like him so much. It's James Ransom, because all I could see him is in the goofy, nebbishy, his role in It Too. So it's to him, he's trying to be a badass when he's out there with the shotgun. I'm like, you're not fooling anybody. You're gonna freak out in 2 seconds, And it was kind of funny. That part was secret. And it's just overall, I was just surprised how good this movie was. It's and it's not just that it was good, suspenseful. It had all that too, but like you said, it was written smart, and example over example of this goes throughout the movie, not just in sequences. It's consistent, and that's what's so rare sometimes in a good script. I mean, they're rare unless it's a good script, is what I meant to say. Yeah.
And one thing I thought was really cool was to kind of expand on the fact that this is a 90-minute final girl sequence. Is you don't really see a lot of explicit kills. There's a body count here because there's people around her that are being killed. But it's not done in a slasher movie type style where, you're watching these killers off all these people. A lot of that stuff is either off screen or it is, very quick or toned down or kind of, off to the side, because the focus is always on her and it's always her reaction. She's kind of stumbling across these people, but just like you would in a real Final Girl sequence of a typical slasher, you're seeing the aftermath more than you're seeing the actual kills. Right. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think other than the security guard, he kind of gets killed in front of her, but a lot of it is like, you see a couple of swings of the bat, but then it's like her reaction.
Yeah, and it's not, that's what I mean. Like, even the ones you do see on screen are not like, they don't dwell on it. It's not about the kill itself. It's all about her reaction to the kill, which I thought was cool. Right.
And, and like, it's like basically, it's like you're basically seeing a visual build of her character in front of you, which I think is really good. And and it's like, and like the whole movie just like leads to the payoff at the end. And this was one of the movies I totally did not expect to like as much as I did.
Yeah.
And it actually, really kind of blew me away how good it was and how much I liked it.
Yeah, I remember when I saw it, I really liked it back in 2014 when I first watched it. But it was one of those that until I rewatched it, I didn't pick up on, the cleverness of the writing and some of the ways that they focused it around her that we just talked about. That kind of stuff was lost on me on the first viewing. But going back and watching it again, I was, thinking about it in podcast terms. I was really picking up on a lot of the stuff they were doing and how well done it was. And like I said, this movie could have easily gone a different way. I mean, this could have been a dime a dozen low budget thriller and gone into pure slasher country, or it could have gone into some other direction. But instead, it knows exactly what it wanted to do, and it pulls it off to perfection. So I was really impressed with it.
I agree. This gets 4.5 out of burnt turkey legs. That should be our signature for the,
now, I will say,
Thanksgiving movies.
Oddly enough, this movie's kind of hard to find. It's not on any of the major streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it's on YouTube supported with ads. So if you guys want to check it out, just go to YouTube and find it. It used to be on the streaming services. I don't know why it's so hard to find.
I think it was on Amazon. When I first set this up like 3 weeks ago, it was on Amazon, I believe.
Okay.
Or Tubi, one of the streaming services. And then it just came off. It's so funny. Why would it come off now? It's like, this is the time for it.
Yeah, but I don't know. But if you guys are looking for it, want to see it after our discussion here tonight, then go check it out on YouTube. But like I said, it's free supported ads. It's not up there illegally. It's
like a legit YouTube ad.
Copy,
yeah.
But I highly recommend it. It's got great starring turn by Haley Bennett. The writing, as we said, is really good, and it's got some. It's kind of got a twist that we didn't go into when we were talking about it. But it's kind of got a little bit of a twist as to the motives behind the killers, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we could leave that though for them to discover. We'll leave that for that.
All right.
So check it out, KRISTY from 2014.
So, Brian, what was our beer pairing for Miss KRISTY?
Okay, so this one, I couldn't find anything super...
That's a hard one.
matchy to this movie. Yeah, like, how do you get, there's no Haley Bennett beer. I bet you I could have found something about a hoodie sweatshirt, though, now that I think about that. But I was actually trying to get this... I didn't actually watch the full movie, but when I was doing this beer pairing, I was kind of in the middle of it, so I kind of took a gamble. But what I got was, I figured I'll just do a general thing because over the theme of it. So I have Thanksgiving Ale by Mayflower Brewing Company out of Plymouth, Massachusetts. And we've had a lot of Mayflower this year because when the pandemic started, that company Taproom that delivers in the New York area was featuring that brewery. So we had a couple of ones, and we absolutely love this brewery. So I figured that would be good. And it's a Thanksgiving ale, and here's their description of it: 6.7%. And it says, Thanksgiving Ale is a full-bodied beer brewed with a rich array of barley and rye malts and aged several weeks on toasted oak. Brewed annually in autumn since 2009, Thanksgiving Ale is an inspired blend of two brewing styles, American Strong Ale and English Old Ale. Perfect for Thanksgiving there. Aged on an American white oak, this brew warms the soul with hints of caramel, vanilla, and spicy nuts. The flavor of Thanksgiving ale pair perfectly with the bountiful variety of foods we feast on throughout this season of harvest.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so that's so it's more of a holiday themed beer because I think this is our final Thanksgiving week movie, so I figured I'd get a good Thanksgiving ale.
And Mayflower Brewing out of Plymouth, Massachusetts better have a darn good Thanksgiving ale.
You're damn right. Otherwise, they're gonna change that name of that brewery to
Exactly.
some other
So
holiday.
I would expect high things out of this. I would definitely be disappointed if that was anything less than stellar. So
I know. Can you imagine? Right? No, the stuff I've had from them is excellent. Excellent.
all right, so our triple threat last week, we were looking for a movie, and clue number one: the movie stars the father of a very well-known scream queen. It stars Mr. Tony Curtis, who was, of course, the father of Jamie Lee Curtis. And we were looking for The Manitou. And that's why I said, if you were a Civil War fan from the beginning, you should know this movie.
Yeah.
Clue number two: my South African premiere invitation was printed on an unusual object. And I think we mentioned this back when we did this movie. When this film was premiered in South Africa in 1978, the invitations were printed on vomit bags.
Yeah, it was in the IMDb trivia that we gave that day, actually,
Mm-hmm.
for that movie.
Clue number three: sadly, before the release, my director was tragically killed. So shortly before the film's release, director William Girdler was killed in a helicopter crash in the Philippines while scouting locations for an upcoming movie. So, yeah, The Manitou, if you guys have not seen it, go back and listen to our episode. It's the one early episode of ours that I will allow you guys to go back and listen to.
Yeah.
Because it was one of our best.
I think we released it twice, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, we released it
a-
twice. So if you can't find it on the original feed, I think we re-released it one week when we had no show. And it's just a fantastic movie. I've got to own that. I don't know if I think a Blu-ray did come out.
No, I owned it. Remember, they came out with a really good
That's
version
right,
of it about a year ago.
I need to. I'm going to
think-
put it on my wish list as soon as we get done recording. I'm doing a holiday wish list, so I'm going to throw that one on there because I really need that movie.
Yeah, that you need in your mini list, which is not so mini anymore, Tim. You're getting up there.
I'm about up to 75 titles now. So.
Yeah, I think once it hits 100, I think you can give it monolith status. I think.
Maybe is there like a medium? Is there like a midi list?
Yeah, maybe there's something in the middle. Yeah, I mean maybe. Well, I don't know. I think mine is even beyond a monolith at this point. I think it's like a continent.
Yeah, I don't know what you call yours.
So maybe yours is the monolith, and I got the continent of things. And like I have like 30 different movies I got to put back into it, which is now good luck because that's the funny thing is another thing is Obi loves to run. Well, in the beginning, he hasn't done it lately, but when I first brought him home, he would kind of run around our couch and then go running under the monolith, which made me nervous because if this thing ever collapsed, the poor little puppies. He's already, but he and so far he hasn't chewed on any of the Blu-rays yet. Although he did kind of eye my copy of Twins that came the other day because I left it on the chair.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of like went towards it. So I don't know.
Well, I've got a bunch of Blu-rays on my wish list this year, so the mini list may be growing after the holidays. So we'll see. Our triple threat this week, we're looking for a director. This is a good one. I like this triple threat here. So listen carefully. Clue number one: I have had 2 feature films to date, and both were highly acclaimed. Clue number 2: my IMDb page would reveal that I also wrote all 9 of my directorial credits. And clue number 3: I graduated from the American Film Institute. This one could be tough.
This is like a good old like fashioned trickery, you know? It's like there's not like really anything there. I mean, there's a couple of clues, but like
this is a tough one.
I mean, yeah, I think it's definitely tough but gettable.
Yeah.
Definitely gettable but I think you need to be more of a good horror, like, you know, kind of on the cutting edge of horror to kind of get a head start on this one.
All right, so time for our fan topic food question. We have another great one from David McHugh, and I don't even want to answer this question because it's.
I know this one is like this is like I feel like a trap.
Yeah, this one's
tough.
But
yeah, I don't know how. I mean, we're probably
we're gonna cop out of this one. I think.
Now. Yeah, probably cop out of it because I mean, I really don't. You know what? There's really not many of an answer we can give on here because it is like this. But I'll let you read it.
Okay, we'll read it and we'll discuss. So the question is, Besides Lauren Marie Taylor, who has been your favorite guest?
Why, yes, of course. We absolutely loved when we had Laura Marie Taylor on because, she was, especially because that was such a crazy week because we literally, it was one of those nightmare scenarios where we lost the first interview and it was so good. And yet that she came. So just to fill people who are maybe new listeners didn't know this. So I still remember it was like, Tim had texted me right after. He goes, "We didn't get the interview." I'm like, "What do you mean we didn't get it?" He's like, "It did not save. The recording, something got screwed up." And of course, we had one other interview with the Ghost Girls that time, which we redid. But I'm like, "Oh my God, we just spoke with her for like almost an hour and a half."
It was the utmost nightmare scenario I've ever had with a.
Yeah, I walked out like literally a zombie, and Julie's out there. She's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "We had the best interview, and it's gone." She's like, "What do you mean it's gone?" I'm like, and now granted, this is when Zoom was just first really being used. So, we weren't familiar with it. We thought like Skype would be the only glitch things, but no, this was a Zoom glitch. Since then, we basically assured of hopefully that not happening again because we have an official Civil Gore account now, Zoom, that's set up. But that we were kind of like, to kind of in theme of the movie we did, we were kind of MacGyvering a little bit the Zoom session. So I remember I emailed her right after it. And I said, "I'm sorry," because we joked about this in the beginning of this interview. We're like, we were saying how like, "Oh, wouldn't it like? Well, hopefully this won't get deleted." But like we, so it it happened before. So I emailed her and I said, "I swear to God, this is not a joke. You're not going to believe this, but something happened, and we lost the interview." And literally, I was like sick to my stomach. Tim was sick to his stomach, and within about 10 minutes, she wrote back. She goes, "Well, we could do it over again. Are you available on Wednesday?" She basically reached right back with not even a second thought, just asked if we would record it again. And right then again, I'm like, wow, she is the best. She's so awesome. So, of course, we ended up, and that interview even went longer. I think that was we had almost like 2 hours of content that we released over 3 episodes.
We had so much content, we released a 3rd episode of like cutting room floor talk.
Yeah, because it was so good and she was so awesome. And, and of course, then she came back to do our, when we did our watch along on Friday the 13th Part 2 on Amazon Prime that time. And she came in the chat room and everyone just had the best time. Everyone still says that how great that was because, she was in there answering questions and like talking about scenes as they happened and joke. It was literally one of the coolest things we've ever done on Civil Gore. Yeah. So that's why, for those who know why, of course, that was up there.
So we're setting the foundation for who, what David would consider our favorite guest, because that's how he worded the question. Yes. So that's right. That's setting the stage for like the top of one of our favorite guests. So who other than that, because he knows that's what we would say. Who other than that has been our favorite guest? So Brian, you want to take a crack at it? I've got some ideas. I'm not going to name a favorite because I just can't do it. I can't name favorites. I can tell you. I will discuss some of our favorite people we've had on, though.
Yeah, we've actually been blessed. We've had so many amazing interviews. And what's more importantly is there's some in the interviews that like literally have developed into just great friendships throughout the year. Of course, our good buddy Jimmy Dempster, which was one of our first. Was it our first big interview? I think it really was, right?
Jimmy was our first big interview, and he has stayed in touch with us ever since, and he'll always reach out if he's got a new project. He's always hitting us up on Instagram. He is just fantastic, and Jimmy's interview will always hold a special place in my heart because that was our first big celebrity interview. It was the first time we'd ever interviewed anybody outside of our immediate circle of friends and family.
Right. So it was good. And now I want to do preface. I know this sounds like, you'll say, oh, it's a cop at it. But no, seriously, we have loved every interview. We have not had a bad one in my
We really haven't. We have not had a bad interview.
Every person, every person we interviewed has been unbelievably fantastic. But we're just signaling, some of the other, of course, David Weiner, which we got to meet. And we've had 3, I think, with him now. Mm-hmm. And it turned out like literally we shared a childhood at some level. I had with him. We grew up like minutes from each other. different, age different by like I think about 5 years we figured out or something. But like we literally went to the same places as kids. We knew the same restaurants, same stores. So, and he literally is like cut from the same cloth as Tim and I. So of course that is one. And I feel bad. I'm not trying to leave anyone out, of course, when I do this,
No, we're just
but
we have to answer the question.
We've had, yeah, I mean, David Howard Thornton, of course, was a huge one.
Felissa Rose was another huge
Felissa Rose. I mean, Kelly Maroney, of course, most recently. Emily Sweet, who was just, we've become such good friends with her throughout because she is just she literally, I know we've said this before, but she lives up to that name better than anything I've ever seen. She is like one of the sweetest, nicest people you could ever possibly meet. And
all of our friends over in the UK, too. I mean, the host.
Oh my God! Yeah, the
host and the hosts. People host.
Yeah,
and
both
hosts.
of them.
They
Both
just
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The One BR folks. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, like that's what I'm saying. It's like literally, there's not been one bad interview. And I mean, of course, it's funny because he wrote. David kind of made a typo. He wrote Lauren Marie Compton, which of course is mixing up Lauren Marie Taylor and Lauren Compton, which was another great interview because, of course, we had her on. And she was one of our first, I think she might have been our first Zoom interview. This is when we first got Zoom working.
Yeah.
And we got that. And so that, I mean, what did we ever have about all the people we met at the cons?
No, we've never had a bad interview. Now, if you ask me, favorite guest, and if you had to push me to pick one, I'd have to go to one of the bigger celebrities just because the podcast has given us the opportunity to interview like an actual horror celebrity. That's super cool. That's something I would never. I don't think Brian either of us would have in a million years dreamed when we started this show that we would get to interview somebody like Felissa Rose or Lauren Marie Taylor or somebody from some of our favorite horror movies. Never in our wildest dreams would we have thought that. So those big celebrity interviews have obviously been very special to me because it's something you just don't typically get to do. And it took us years of doing the podcast weekly, grinding it out before we ever got to that level where we could do those kind of interviews.
Yeah, and we have some coming up. I think that'll be kind of fun too. I'll leave those as a surprise. We have one I'm really excited for our holiday episode, which I'm going to keep under wraps for now, but that one's going to be great. Tim and I always said when we started this podcast, we're like, we're going to be two guys talking about horror. Maybe we'll have our friends on sometime. I mean, sure, in my head, I'm like, it'd be cool if we got some, like, actual people from the horror movies in there. Like, how cool would that be?
I literally thought this podcast was going to be listened to by maybe 10 people. And it would be, like, people we knew, like our friends in the roller coaster community. Like, that would be it. Like, that's as far as the show would go. It'd be like, and I was perfectly fine making that show for those 10 people. I honestly was. Yeah. I would have done it every week and just made my little show for my 10 friends, and that would have been the end of it. That's all I ever expected out of this.
Yeah, no, but I mean, now it's to the point where we get approached with movies and screeners and get interview possibilities, and to me, like, all of it is like, it's just like, it's so humbling because, we would have been fine with just a bare minimum podcast. And this just has taken it to a new level. That's amazing. And it really, and it's fun but it's also just like, so enlightening to find out stuff from the people that were actually in there working on it, producing it, starring in it. And also I will say, it's like, yes, while that's cool too, also I want to say, even the non-celebrities, like tonight alone, like we got to meet through the podcast, we got to meet Victoria, who has her shop, and through the con we met Tony and Lori for Ghost Girl Greetings, and Nightmare Worcester, just all these people we met that have become, become friends with through the podcast. It's like, I know we usually do our giving thanks. Well, that's like right there. Like, I think that possibly, I mean, other than the standards, of course, thanking our wives and all our listeners and, people that have helped us along the way. But really, it's like, I think the friendships are what's so key. And especially this year was so important to have people all over the world to reach out to and commiserate with, because this global pandemic was not something that hit our our town, our state, our country. It was the world could get, so the fact that we had that, I mean, that's what I'm thankful for the most this year, is just the friendships we had throughout this, and it's unbelievable how you wouldn't think that this could ever be this way, but
yeah, and it's an ever expanding. That's why continuously fascinates me, is because I grew up. I grew up before internet, and your circle of friends were the people that lived near you. That was it, or the people you went to school with, and you maybe had a handful of friends, good friends, and yeah, I lived most of my life not having that many friends, only because you're limited. But you get into situations now where it's like the social circle just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, and year over year through the podcast, we're just meeting more and more and more people, and through the theme park community, I've met some of the best friends of my entire life. So, and some of the best.
Well,
people.
if that was not there, think about it, Tim. There would be no Civil War if it wasn't for the theme park community.
Exactly. So it's almost like it's just snowballing. So to the point where I've got more friends now than I've ever had in my entire life, all through this podcast, the theme park trips, the internet, the social media, everything. It's just snowballing, and I absolutely love it. It's really, really the biggest benefit to come out of the show by far.
Yeah, so hopefully we answer. You guys don't think that's just like a standard canned answer, but really we mean it from the heart. Like how much every interview was important, and every interview was amazing. So, and all the people were just So I mean, to pick a favorite is nearly impossible.
Yeah, and I will have to say, like, every single interview I get excited for. Like it's it has not at all become routine. Like I am just so appreciative of anybody who wants to come on the show and spend some time with us. I'm greatly appreciative of every interview that we land. They've all been fantastic, and part of that is because they've all been so good. It's like I've come to expect that everyone is going to be good. I've kind of become a little bit maybe spoiled in that regard. But so I look forward to all of them.
Yeah, so everyone just stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week where we'll start our Christmas and maybe even a Hanukkah this year. We'll have
finally
for December. Yeah.
All right, guys, take care.